Okay, let's start. Hello everyone. Welcome in our project space, Rosa. I'm Julia, and over there are Teresa and Adelie. And we're happy that you're here tonight to celebrate with us. It's the end of our project from Net City World to Cloud Market C. It's the last of our 6 event series, like coming to an end. It's crazy. So there are some new faces. So for those of you who are here for the first time, Teresa, Annelie and I, we are part of Zentrum für Netzkunst. And this year we organized the research project from Net City World to Cloud Market C. And we spent the entire year exploring how we talk about the internet and discussing different metaphors. And we had various events. We had a reading group, a writing workshop, performances, talks, lectures. And we also published a book with 18 contributions. Unfortunately, we sold all the copies we had with us, but there are still some copies left at our publisher Distance, so you can check it out. It's like in the back, and then you can buy it online via the QR code. And because it's our last event, we would like to thank everyone involved once again. Hauptstadt Kulturfonds for funding us, Judith, our graphic designer, Elfie, our project manager, Diana, our proofreader, of course all the contributors, and all the others who supported us. We're really, really grateful for all your help and support. So for today we invited Kendal to talk about her contribution and to explore some online worlds with us. Thank you for coming to Berlin. And Kendal is a Rotterdam-based artist and researcher, and her work is situated in the realm of experimental publishing and internet culture. Kendal is a founding member of Dead Web Club, a project connecting like-minded people with an interest in the old web. And she's also engaged with the zine-making community, hosting workshops and co-organizing the Rotterdam-based zine festival Zine Camp. And Kendal wrote a text for our book about the metaphor of the world. And in it she creates something like a map of different online sites and communities. And she starts in the bedroom and zooms out further and further through alleyways and suburbs and islands and worlds. And so we hope you have all your laptop or tablet or phone ready and are prepared to surf a little with us. And one last thing, so we have some Glühwein in the back, so
soft drinks too.
And soft drinks too, so you're welcome to take it. And like in this direction and the last door on the right, there are the toilets. If you
I have an announcement about the Wi-Fi. If you currently don't have Wi-Fi, don't worry, it's not just you. It's our guest Wi-Fi is down, as I see. So I will have to give you access to other Wi-Fi if you don't have your hotspot or if you want to save your data. So there's another Wi-Fi which is called Speed 5000. And the password is I love Bitnik 3000, and it's all written, so it's not the symbol anymore as it was here, but it's just I love Bitnik 3000. So you can try to, I'm currently logged in.
It's 5,000. And Bitnik with CK.
No, it's not CK, it's just yeah.
3,000?
3000, yeah.
That works.
Okay.
It's my tester.
Condescending, but.
Yeah, are we online?
We are.
Cool.
Okay, then.
Okay, so before we start and before...
I love Bitnik 3000. No, it's written.
All in small letters.
Okay, everyone ready? Cool. Before we get onto this, I'm just going to explain a little bit more about the contribution to situate what we're going to do today. So as you have said, with my essay, I started in the bedroom, and I used that as a metaphor for sort of home pages and blogs and these sort of coming of age spaces as a teenager. So things like GeoCities, Hot Glue, and building your first web page and expressing yourself very publicly and maybe a bit embarrassingly, but that is where we started in the Zoom. And then from there, we moved to Suburbia, which is what I call more traditional social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook and things like that. And sort of using the metaphor of this idea that you think you can express yourself, but it's within the confines that the actual platform itself gives you. So yeah, you can make something look pretty, but it's still gonna fit within this box, right? From there, I moved into the idea of alleyways, which are more sort of affordances that I was finding within traditional platforms. So people using things like TikTok and Discord as a sort of alt community space. So they would sort of, like, they're not using it for its intended purposes, but more trying to find what can be done within it, and then sort of exploiting that and building something out of that. And there's two more, I promise. The next one was islands, and that was kind of looking at more of a self-sustaining way of being online. So there's things like feminist servers, decentralized web, so actually starting from scratch. And then the final Zoom was world, which was also the metaphor I was working within, and that was actually, that's the most obvious. I was looking at like 3D worlds, VR, embodied spaces, so that is kind of what the contribution is. It's much better than I just explained it, so if you haven't bought the book, I want to make people buy books. For today, we're only going to look at two of the Zooms, so we're going to look at the bedroom and also islands, because I think some of, I'm sure there's new people today, but also for the other events that have already happened with this book, I think the other things have been touched on a bit, and I don't want to be repetitive. So, straight away, I'm asking you to do something, I'm sorry. If you can scan this. It is a Etherpad being wonderfully hosted by my old master's course, which I did, graduate from 3 years ago, so should not still be using the tools, but it's free and they are self-hosted. So when you get to the Etherpad, you'll see that it's basically a space for everyone to also contribute alternative spaces online, because I will show you quite a lot, but it's not about me, it's about us building this sort of alternative web space together. So if you have any, oh no, that's not good. If you have any sort of websites that you think are really interesting and places that maybe not everyone knows about and you don't want to gatekeep, then you can add them, and feel free to add them as we go through as well, because maybe right now you're like, I don't know, but then you'll look at some of the things I show and maybe something will pop up. So yeah, that's how you should be involved right now. Later on, if we're feeling good and ambitious, I was thinking, because I do come from a zine background and I'm used to also making publications, that we can make some little alternative maps where we can literally map the places and have our own personal map of the internet. And I just said map so many times. Okay. So we're on here. So I'm sorry that I'm not using full screen mode, but it's very spoilery when I put it on full screen because I didn't make it in full screen. So I realized that as soon as I click it, everything else is revealed, and that's not the vibe I want to give right now. So also the pad is still here, so you can see it. It's not important to be on here with me because I know that domain name is horrific and I'm not gonna ask anyone to write it down. So, like I said, we were gonna start with the bedroom. So, of course, this is like, if anyone hates flashing imagery, I'm really sorry because you're gonna see a lot. But, yeah, ready. Okay. So, this idea of the bedroom kind of came from my experience growing up and having my designated time in which I can go online and be a teenager. And I was of the MySpace era, so MySpace taught me how to code. But before MySpace, we had something called GeoCities, and I have here someone who is really wonderful and I've spoken to a lot is Kyle Drake, and he managed to archive everything and not just take the screenshots, but actually grab all the code. It means that a lot of things are broken, but it is what is still available. So this is still something you can go and look at what were on GeoCities at the time. So you don't need to, let's see. You can go on the actual website and witness it exactly how it was if the JavaScript still works. If people were using funky scripts, that's not gonna work. So one thing to know also about the archiving of this is this was just sort of a passion project that he had because he had seen the screenshot sort of gallery of GeoCities and he was like, yeah, that doesn't really give you the feel of being on these pages. So I said he grabbed all the code, but he confided in me that he gets quite a lot of angry emails because people who made it when they were young and angsty are no longer young and angsty and are now maybe high up and powerful, and all of a sudden their old websites are being resurfaced and you can trace it back. So also a nice little fable on telling you not to maybe post. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, this is the project is called Restorative Land, and he also managed to restore all of MySpace's music files, which took a long time, but yeah, it's a really nice project. So this is something that I was looking at. So the idea of a bedroom to me also reflects this idea of your own space that not really anyone comes into. Like, you remember those really tacky, like, keep out posters that you have on your front door so no one will come in. I kind of see these spaces as almost like, yeah, this is my space, so I am literally going to build my space and no one is allowed in. If you come in, enter at your own risk. So this is the sort of connection that I was making, bedrooms and home pages, because they are really an expression and a way of sort of dealing with growing up, coming of age, and often that can be done with spark-2 games. So from there, also a contributor to the book, Molly Soda, she has a page that is quite reminiscent of these sort of GeoCities type pages, but it's using something called Hot Glue, and I don't know how many people know Hot Glue, but it's basically a web hosting, but you don't need to know any coding whatsoever. It's drag and drop. It's very much like takes all of the technology out of it and you can just post to your heart's content, and it's free. It was made in the Netherlands, where I live. And this page is like this tool, let's call it a tool, is really interesting because it gives you a lot of space to make things look weird and wrong, which we don't really have anymore. So I'm not sure if anyone has seen Molly's of this amazing hot glue. Yeah, at first you're like, yeah. And all of these, you can decide whether it's an image, if it clicks to another page. You can embed video, so it's really good if you are just someone who doesn't want to get involved in the website, web design type of thing, and you just want to put all your stuff in place. So, this, yeah, I mean, Molly is great, so we can see. And this goes on for a very long time. As you can see, I'm not even halfway. So I kind of see hot glue and tools like this because there are more sort of coming out at the moment. There's things like space.no and this idea of sort of not, because we kind of went to a space where all artist websites look the same. They all have the image in the middle, you have like a little bar down the side saying selected words, you know. But this kind of goes back to a time where you can literally make it look ugly and unreadable, but at least there is some form of expression and playfulness with it. So I think, I will say, I do think Molly has another website that is not this, because she knows that this is very hard to navigate. But that's kind of the fun of it, I think, because you never know if it's going to be a picture or if it's going to lead to something else. Okay, yeah, it doesn't want me to go on YouTube, but that's fine. Yeah. So from hot glue, which was made in 2011, I think. Yeah, I think it was 2011. There's been a recent resurgence in this idea of handmade and small web. So some people who are really big within the scene, I would say, is Laura Schwartz. So Laura makes a lot of websites, and they kind of play with a website as a medium rather than just like this is a space to present your work. It's also your work. So she really plays and makes some really nice pictures. More poetic ways of using the form. And from there we can also get to gossipsweb.net, which is the directory, of course, with an asterisk because not everything is on here, but really looks at more sort of handmade small web, which normally pertains to using HTML and CSS as their most stable languages, because I think we've all made something with JavaScript and then had to go back to it later and it doesn't work anymore, and then you're like, So it's this idea of making more resilient pages that if you went on it in 10 years, 15 years, it's still gonna look exactly the same. So this is a really nice collection, especially if anyone is into like making smaller pages, having like more of an ecological impact as well. Then yeah, I would really recommend looking at gossipsweb.net because it's a really nice collection. There's also Christopher Charles, who I think has somehow figured out that a lot of this stuff happens in the Netherlands as well, because we have a lot of my school things going on around here. But he attempted, and he has said himself that it is something that is in progress, like this will never be finished, but he attempted to map the internet, looking into publishing, and this is the server we're all using for the Etherpad. So they are welcome here. And then the ideas of teaching HTML to people so that it's like more of a sort of skill to share rather than just like, oh here, make a website. It's actually this is how we can do these things, about like this collaboration and sharing. And then we also get into like text-based websites, so your world of text, which is, I think is also on the page that I have. Smaller websites, also like solar text, so there is a really beautiful magazine, online magazine called Low Tech Magazine, and that is entirely powered by solar panels, so there are times where it's just down and people just gotta deal with it. So it's really thinking about the materiality of the web as well. And then it's really weird to use my own project in this, so just ignore that. This was something that I graduated with in experimental publishing. So I built this platform which looks at web communities and alternative spaces and sort of what it means to different people. So I spoke to, there's a website called Spacegate, which is a reimagination of MySpace, which was made by someone who was not alive during the time of MySpace. So I thought that was pretty, like, it shows that there is a real need for these certain websites that sort of encourage creativity in a way, because I'm not gonna call him a kid because he's really smart, but this guy Anton, he was 17 and he was just doing a school project and he managed to rebuild the whole of MySpace and has a lot of users, and he just had found out about MySpace from someone and was like, oh, that would be really cool if it still existed, and just made it. And so I interviewed him. I also spoke to an artist who works with internet archaeology, Kyle Drake, who did the Restorative Land and the GeoCities pages, and then a duo of documentary makers that make this amazing documentary called Preserving Worlds. And they basically go into older but still functional online worlds, and they managed to find someone who was active within that world, so something like, I don't know, Second Life is still big, okay. And they did do a Second Life episode actually, but they got someone who was very, very like within the throes of these platforms and asked them to tour them around the platform. And they really show like not just the historical impact of Second Life, but really what the social and the community aspect of each of these places were. So I spoke to all of these people and then I built a chat bot of them all talking to each other. Yeah, they're all talking, guys. They're all ready to talk to you. But I also was looking at people's first memories of using the web. I think it is not download because I stupidly built this with JavaScript and it's not online anymore, so I have to use the Wayback Machine to actually view my own website. But yeah, this was a project that I did which really got me, I think this was like the sort of hooks that got me into alternative web communities and the ways they sort of coexist. From there, we go to, your world of text, which Christopher mentioned in his map of small web and handmade web. So, your world of text, I don't know if anyone knows it, but it is a very big text editor. And you can make a board, just you and your friends, and build anything, essentially. Like, people went crazy and they start to make ASCII things. It's really not loading great, but that's fine because there's so much on it. And what I find very funny about this one is this was the for example page, so just teaching you how to use it, but it has become this like absolute clusterfuck of all of this stuff. So this is actually still online and you can still use it and make pages with your friends. I've seen it used in really beautiful ways with people like who are maybe studying graphic design or information design, and they will design like a sort of website within this whole board, text board? I don't know. Yeah. Actually, a word to say about what I'm showing all of this in. This is called Canopio, and it's an open source because everything I do is open source. Sort of an open source version of Miro, but has way more fun stuff. So with Miro, it's very like, you know, you have your stuff there. It's very like profesh, right? But this, you can really play with things. As you can see, there are GIFs everywhere, and I really recommend this tool if you ever are mind mapping anything. Like, it's really nice. You can have shared boards with people. Laurel Schwalz, the lady here, she actually made like a series of poems within Canopio with another artist. So it's a really like nice sort of tool and platform to sort of play with the ideas of what you can maybe make online before jumping headfirst into like, I want to code it. So yeah, I really wanted to show you the actual space itself. And Weavy is one of my favorite websites in the world because it's so stupid. Oh, what if I do too? Let's go into it. So Weavy only shows you pages that your computer can handle for a start. So if you're on your phone, it will look at the capabilities of your like operating system and not show you anything that is not going to load. But it also really puts precedence on the HTML and CSS only websites. So, ooh, there you go anyway. But this is a really sort of, there is no way to influence it at all. Like, it's trying to be an alternative to something like Google where you pay to have your site at the top. This is literally like, we don't know what's gonna happen. Kind of the fun of it. Oh. Scuba Mom. You know, like, this surprise me button is maybe the best surprise me button on the internet. Okay, so these are some of the sort of spaces that I think have sort of evolved from GeoCities, because GeoCities had its place. It was great when we look at it now, but we also know it was a nightmare. And was not a great site. We like to romanticize GeoCities quite a lot. So I wanted to also show some of the newest phases that are trying to take this sort of ethos of GeoCities and make it into something a bit more interesting, something with a bit more intention. Also, if GeoCities is really your thing, NeoCities exists, which was also made by Kyle Drake, who archived GeoCities. So that is also like, it's exactly what you think it is. It's GeoCities again, but with an N in the title. Again, don't have to pay for anything. Like, it's a really, really fun page. So now I'm gonna zoom really fast out because I skipped alleyways and suburbia. Like, we'll forget about those for now. We're going straight into islands. So with the islands, this was looking at actual entire digital infrastructures and feminist service. So I live near Rotterdam, and I'm not sure how many of you know Varia. So Varia is a space in Rotterdam, and they are a collective, and they really look at different approaches to what collectivity means, how to be online. Their old name was meant to be like the Center for Everyday Tech, but they said that some things have become a bit more important since then, so they really look into sort of activist sort of approaches to things now. So you'll have a lot of these sort of workshops and ways of sort of teaching also people in the area, because it's actually quite similar to the space in that's residential where it is. So it aims to try and bring people in as well, so to connect with the space outside of just the cute, cozy. So they really do work with both community people and also artists, and they do sort of coding sessions where you can all teach each other to code. They'll do, actually Olia had done a talk there on Rotterdam paint shops and the vernacular of sort of these old internet cafes, but of specifically of Boston. And yeah, it's just a space to try and make people really think about what they're using, what they're working with, and also to teach the skills, because yeah, these artists know how to code, they know how to do all of these things, and they realize they're in a position of power with this, but also of privilege, so they're really trying to, it's about knowledge sharing as well. But there's also other ones that are not just in the Netherlands, I promise. So, Sister Server, they are kind of everywhere and nowhere. A lot of the members are free, but they also invite people in all the time. I know a lot of members who are not Greek, but they have a very similar sort of approach with Varias. They really try and look at how to sort of invoke the decentralized web. So they have their own like PeerTube instance. So instead of using YouTube, they use PeerTube. You can't really find them on Instagram or anything like that, because I think that would make their skin crawl. But you can find them on things like Mastodon and like decentralized approaches to them. So another thing that Sister Server do, and Varia have started to do it now, is also connected to me in the fact that they, as well as like doing knowledge sharing through like workshops and things like that, they also really look at publishing like simple things like how to set up your own VPN in a zine, and they make all of these things very publicly available on GitHub. So you can find all of these, you can download them, everything is open and free, and it really teaches you like very specific things to do, but very like well and very clearly. And this was done by Mara. So yeah, you can see it's a very like hands-on but technical way of like sort of publishing. I think the difference between Sister Server and Varia is Varia have more stuff to do with community action and like what is happening in Palestine, and when things happen, they are very quick to respond with this. And I think Sister Server have this as well, but they really do focus on the idea of like, let's teach people how to do things that they think they can't do, and they try and make these things as accessible as possible. And there's someone that I want to highlight because I really enjoy his work, because you might be like, okay, yeah, but I'm not going to build my own server and host a collective. It's like, fair enough. But there is someone, I can't remember what his actual name is, because I always see his freaking screen name, which is Melon. Oh, his name's Daniel. There we go. Nice. But this is someone who really works with some of the ideas that were very prevalent in Web 1, but how do we then put that into today when we are faced with things like generative AI, all of this, but they're really like trying to almost teach people as well, but not expect you to build a whole collective or have a space or anything like this. This is more of like the space between the bedroom and the island, because it's kind of like you can do it individually, but it also uses some of the ethos of what is happening in the islands. So this was someone that I really wanted to highlight. He's really interesting guy. Oh no, not that guy. And you see, this is always what happens when you're working with this sort of internet. You click on it, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, I've somehow opened this. Cool. Here is his main website, there we go. So he has like blog posts on how to do things, teaches you very specific things like how to create a web ring. He shows his own projects because he is an artist, but also he teaches things as well. So those were what I wanted to show you, but now I really am intrigued to see what people are adding.
I was just gonna add in the ones that you have in basically as well. Yeah.
I already did.
No, the word like the first four were like new ones, I believe.
Okay, let's have a look.
So you are Atlas, Cousin Island, Mushet, Cameron's World. The first four were new. And then from there.
Have you literally been adding everything?
No,
I
not
already have?
everything.
No.
On my end.
Yeah, because we couldn't read the URL, so we were trying to figure out what it is so that we can have a look.
I mean, I think it's really useful to have it out there.
Yeah.
So.
I can also share this there.
Yeah, it's a better one then, yeah.
Put it here. Now everyone can find it. Which probably I should have done to start with, but I didn't really think about that.
Okay, the next one of this.
No, it doesn't undo the work.
No, it doesn't really work.
So, was there... Oh, we have some stuff. Nice. So what is this? Ooh. Who added this? You also don't have to say, you can pretend it wasn't you.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why did you add this? Like, what brought you here? A loaded question.
I just saw this today,
Yeah.
and I thought it was nice to try with other people.
Yeah. No, it is really nice because this is the sort of example with like Laurel Scholl's, this idea of like actually seeing and sort of visualizing who is on the web with you. So it's not this insular thing that you never really think about, right? You're just like, I'm on the web, blah, blah, blah. So you forget that there's other people there with you. So yeah, I really like this picture too. It's really cool. Also, if I ask you if you added it and you don't want to say it to you, you just lied. Who was that?
That was me too. I did them in a row. And this is one I made. It's like a part of a bigger work, but just a little, essay. Essay. Yeah.
I really like, yeah, it's such a nice like way to just have things in place. I really like it. Oh, I wonder who this was. Does everyone know Musha? Okay, so Musha is an artwork by Martina Dom, and it's the fictional sort of webpage of this girl who should never be able to exist because she is dark. And so essentially this website looks into things like ideas of suicide and like some of the darker thoughts you have as a teenager. And it's a very, very old website, but something very funny has happened with it is that it accidentally, like very recently got adopted by a lot of teenagers in Russia, and they had no idea what they were seeing. They didn't know it was artwork, and it started to make its rounds in like the Russian TikTok, and everyone started to sort of reshare it again and really worry about this girl who dislikes it. And there's a lot of videos of people like reacting to the videos on their stream and things like that, and it was shown actually in that form in a new institute in Rotterdam, and Martina had decided to show it in that form because she kind of thought that it was over. And then there was such a big sort of resurgence, and then there was this net art exhibition opening in Rotterdam, and they asked her to be a part of it, and she was like, well, this is what it currently means to people. So she started sort of installing screens of kids basically reacting to it and being absolutely horrified by some of the things that go on there. Also, don't ever put your email in this page because she will keep emailing you more unhinged things by the day. But see, like, yeah, she gets sick. It's also very confusing because she's French, but she's from Amsterdam, so the suspension of disbelief, I guess. Yeah, this whole page is about trying to catch the fly. No, I'm not gonna do it because it's gonna get very annoying. But yeah, this is a great thing. Because it also shows that like these pages still mean things to people, and it's had this whole like shift in what it actually does mean to people. Because originally when it was online, everyone knew it was an artwork. It was also exhibited in a gallery and the actual art context. But then I can imagine being a teenager accidentally stumbling across this and thinking, oh god, we need to help this girl in Amsterdam.
Well, this one blew up so much that the artist got in troubles in the country and stuff
Yeah.
like police and government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the beauty of doing weird stuff online. And then for anyone who really enjoys GeoCities and wants to relive it, this is Cameron's World. Cameron's World is basically trying to put everything that they can remember from the GeoCities sort of era onto one page. And it's about like, it's kind of a love letter to that time. But yeah, it's gorgeous. Like Comic Sans. But when you get down to the bottom, you do see that there was a reason for doing it. Yeah. So, yeah. Do we have anything else on the
Yeah, the last one said, I think.
Ooh. I'm scared. Genuinely, I'm scared. Who edited?
I don't know, could have been anyone.
Nice.
Beautiful. Okay. The thing is though, I could do this for a really long time, but I think that's really interesting. This is amazing. Whoever put this is great. Let's just say that. And the thing is, I know that that person put this one because I can tell by the colour of the
I think they didn't actually.
Oh, this is really good. See, because this is doing this, but making it way more interesting than just.
This is actually very boring, but I thought it was quite interesting because it's like, it's this website that's run by, he died about 10 years ago, and it's got some other stuff on there, but it's like, it's actually the most authoritative website on the web about vintage bikes. It's really, if you've got an old bike from
Yeah.
like 80s gears, this is where you go, everyone puts you to it. It's still very, very used.
Oh, but isn't this like amazing that you can still go on it?
Yeah. And it's got some stuff about its history, maybe he was some kind of accountant, and he's got some stuff about it. It's got all sorts of weird stuff in there as well, but he's got amazing sort of information.
Oh, just love that it's clearly not on a big grid, you
Yeah.
know? You did not care about what this looked like. And that's great. We need to be more about that because I'm really sick of very boring websites. Okay. Oh, someone tried to trick me by removing the color. Oh, okay, back to it. I liked it so much I want it twice. Okay, is this suitable for work? Like, am I gonna click and regret this? Where do I put this?
Guess we'll see.
Okay, we're all in this together.
Old trick.
Oh no! That's genuinely very sad. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Am I doing another video? That's really cool. Oh no! What is this website?
So this is by Underscription.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's like it will randomly load YouTube videos that are the default file name, and so it's generally like, I mean it's all kinds of things, but it'll just shuffle through these default name uncategorized videos.
That's really cool. I'm just really sad that it didn't work. Like, because I genuinely think there would be some really weird things in there. So, how do we feel about this idea of sort of drawing an alternative map of being online? We into it? So, what I was thinking we'd do is kind of, obviously it's not going to look like this because this is a weird clusterfuck. But we can kind of build some sort of guide through spaces that you feel are really important to be included. And they can be anything you want. And if it also means that it's websites that aren't really like niche and all that doesn't matter. It's more about building your version of what the internet is really. So yeah, in this kind of way of having things grown from each other, maybe we can do that.